Are you guys seeing that back there? Are y'all seeing that? Look, I don't know what's happening. I think somebody might have like messed up there in the console room of the Matrix that we're living in, and something must have gone out of whack. Because the most exciting camera of all time has just been announced, and I'm talking about the Ronin 4D. Now look, this is exciting for some content creators, not for others, but in general, this is pretty crazy. Now look, the funny thing about this is that I literally just uploaded recently a video about why you probably shouldn't upgrade to a cinema camera. The world just goes, oh, well, maybe you have a reason to now. Because the newest, coolest camera straight out of Tony Stark's closet has just arrived on the scene. Now, if you don't know what Ronin is, So it turns out I actually made the mistake of calling DJI Ronin. Like, not once or twice, like the whole video, okay? So I know y'all are probably like gonna wanna, you know, roast me in the comments. Feel free to do so. I deserve it. But yeah, it's called DJI. It might trigger you. I'm sorry. But I promise I know what I'm talking about. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Ronin has been the leading creator of drones and gimbals, so they're very good in stabilization, and that's kind of what they've been known for. We've always, I guess, kind of wondered in the back of our heads when they're gonna release more on-camera things. You know, stabilization is cool and all, but you know, the cameras that we see in the Mavic Pro, they're good cameras, you know what I mean? Like, they know what they're doing up there, and we always wondered, when are they releasing a camera? Because if you follow photographer, videographer, blogs and whatnot, you saw Sigma, one of my favorite lens manufacturers, I'm using it right now, dropped their camera body, and it kind of flopped, and it was like not the best thing ever. Everyone who reviewed it was like, not worth the money, not good. So we all kind of wondered, like, when is Ronin gonna join the camera body game? All that being said, we finally got everything that we thought would happen all at once. We're looking at an amazing camera that can do it all. I don't know how other YouTubers have described this because it's pretty difficult to describe, but it's basically a camera that's already mounted onto a gimbal, and it works symbiotically, and it's all a part of just one entity that is the Ronin 4D, and it's pretty cool. This says right here, DJI has kicked off its string of announcements with the Ronin 4D, a new and arguably revolutionary cinema camera that combines a cinema camera with a 4-axis gimbal. So this is the other part where they're innovating. They created the first 4-axis gimbal. If you use any of their past gimbals, you know that they are 3-axis, which means that they control 3 axes of stabilization. I don't even know if that's how you say the plural version of axis, or if it's axes or axi. But anyways, they had 3, now they have 4. And what this 4th one does is, I don't know if you've ever used a Ronin gimbal, I'm assuming you have if you're watching this, but when you're walking and you're like tracking and stuff, you always get some sort of like vertical jitter, and it's usually super micro and like annoying as heck. Well, this new vertical arm that they've added to it makes it to where it doesn't have that. So it is the perfect stable camera, all in one. And the impressive part of this whole thing is that not only is it a great gimbal and a great camera, they decided to push the parameters on both ends all at once. I'm a big fan of when companies and people take risks, and this was a risk. I don't know, man. I mean, if I were playing it safe, I would probably release a gimbal that had 4 axes, you know, first, and see how that performs, and then maybe release a body of a camera and see how that performs, and then maybe if they both sell pretty well, then it makes sense to put them together. Like, that's what a regular marketing strategy would be. But Ronin said, F that. They said, we're gonna do it all in once, and you're all gonna love us for it. They were right. I mean, let's talk about their marketing strategy, kind of letting everybody play with this thing. It gets announced, and then every YouTuber drops a video on it. All in all, this thing is just a beast. But let's dive a little bit deeper into these specs and what it can do. If you're watching this and you're like me, you're probably like, there's gotta be some sort of miscalculation. There's gotta be some sort of drawback to this. I mean, it can't just be good at everything. Well, let's dive in. It says right here, it is a new full frame cinema camera, which I don't know if you've looked at cinema cameras in the past. Most of them aren't full frame. Full frame cinema cameras are rare, and a lot of them have a lot of drawbacks, but this one gives you full frame. Not only does it give you full frame, there's gonna be models that are available up to 8K in models that are up to 6K, according to this, if I'm reading this correctly. And they'll both be able to record, of course, the H.264, but more importantly, the Apple ProRes RAW. ProRes is just a great codec to have. That's just a good pick. 8K quality, like resolution, and 75 frames per second, which is just ridiculous. 75 frames per second at 8K is wild. The X9 6K tops out at 6K with 60 frames per second, which is still wild. I use a Blackmagic Pocket 6K and it doesn't do more than 30 at 6K. So props. Not only that, the 6K model will also give you 120 frames per second at 4K. And that is huge, because I rarely shoot on 6K. I usually do 4K to have some versatility. On top of all of the, other kind of specs that I could go into, like the fact that it has over 14 stops of dynamic range, and it also has dual native ISO. One of the coolest things about this camera. Bro, how long was that in an ad? That sucks. One of the coolest thing about this camera is that it has built-in ND filters on top of that. I mean, it's pretty wild that you have so much already and built-in ND filters. I mean, if any camera would have an excuse to not add built-in ND filters, it would be this one. Like, oh, well, we needed room for the, the gimbal and for this or that. So the fact that they added that is just like, so now moving on to more of the hardware stuff. On top of that fourth axis, they've also added downward facing TOF sensors, as well as forward and downward dual visual sensors, a built-in IMU and barometer to achieve the best stabilization possible. All this does is it just reads the distance from the bottom of the camera to the floor to help support the way that it stabilizes everything. Instead of it just being some sort of AI within the computer of the gimbal, it actually has sensors that help it see the surrounding world, which is pretty cool. Another thing that they've added is for autofocus. They have introduced a LiDAR autofocus system, which isn't new, but it's just another added thing to the camera that helps it autofocus better. Now, I encourage you all to watch the Parker Walbeck video, full-time filmmaker. He talks a little bit more about using it in action and all that stuff, and he said that there are some cases where that isn't the best thing to use. But that being said, he also mentioned that that was going to be something that would be repaired before the final production models come out to the market. I think the exciting part about this release and this camera in general is the fact that it's introducing a new player in the ecosystem of cameras. Like, we all know about Canon and how if you have a Canon body, you should use the native Canon lens. And every manufacturer adds products to their lineup that allows you to, have more utility out of most of these products. Well, Ronin has forever been a sort of support for all of these other manufacturers and other brands. So the fact that they're coming out with a camera after having so many years testing and improving their stabilization and all these things that they're great at, it's the possibility of what can come after this that's very exciting. Because I saw a clip of Potato Jet, him saying that you can take part of the camera, you can take the camera out of the gimbal. So, maybe you can add that little camera to other gimbal. This is like Ronin's Macintosh. Like, I feel like this is the first breakthrough thing that's gonna open the door for Ronin to really explore other things. Like I said, like them releasing lenses, maybe they release lighting, maybe they release other parts, microphones. I don't know, I just have this weird feeling that like this is, exciting and cool, but it's just the beginning. It should excite a lot of you because not only is it good for Ronin, I've noticed I've said Ronin this whole time, and not only is it good for DJI, but it's also good for every other manufacturer, because this is gonna make every other manufacturer have to start pushing even more. Something I've seen in the camera kind of industry in the last 2 to 3 years has been a camera manufacturer like Canon will drop, and then Sony will drop the A7S III, and then they'll continue to go back and forth. And this competition and this level of competition between manufacturers is great because it just brings the bottom line of cameras all the way up. Now, the cheap cameras are amazing 4K cameras. In the future, are gimbal cameras going to make non-gimbal cameras cheaper and more affordable for the small creator? Or like, that's the things I think about when I think of this release. It's gonna push the industry to another level that we just haven't seen yet. But the reason I won't even think about buying it, even if it was at a price where I could feel safe buying it, is that I'm not a gimbal user. I'm just not. I don't enjoy, I prefer the look that you get out of handheld. Of course, if I need a specific movement, I know what to use a gimbal for, but for me, it's just a tool. It's not the whole thing. So the fact that it's all in one and you don't really have the choice if you're going with this camera is a little weird. So that begs the question, is this gonna be a specific use camera? Is this gonna be only for all those gimbal shots that you need? Or are people gonna expect to use this as their workhorse, as their primary camera of choice? You know, I don't know. I encourage you to watch some of these guys' videos, Peter McKinnon, Potato Jet, all of them, so they can kind of dive more into the experience of actually using it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. I think I'm like 75% pumped because this is great for the industry. And, you know, also great for DJI. They deserve it. And it's just a really interesting and exciting camera to look at and see. And I really hope I get to like mess with it one day soon. There's a lot to think about, a lot of thoughts that you can have, that you can think. So share some of your thoughts with me. Go to the comment section, drop a comment, and, you know, tell me what you think about this new release. Tell me what you think about the route that DJI is taking. Do you think this is going to have a profound impact on the industry? Think it's just a gimmick? Let me know your thoughts. Go to the comments, talk about it. I love talking to you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and hit subscribe, like this video, send it to your favorite group chat with all your homies. This is the channel for creators who love tech, and look, I'll be talking about tech and creativity. And yeah, I mean, if you like that, go ahead, hit subscribe. It's been your boy, Andres, and remember, stay grateful. Peace.